Hi, do we really need to be ill? Is illness inevitable and unavoidable, or can we do something about it? Does the body give us early warning signs that we shouldn't ignore? This series that I'm doing here looks at what your body can be telling you if you were able to listen to it. I'm Neil Fellows, and I'm a health explorer, and I'm a co-founder of Total Wellness Club. And thank you for joining me as I delve into the possibility that bad health could be avoidable. In this series, we're exploring, as I say, the possibility that ill health could be avoidable. And I'll be sharing my knowledge and exploring my health and my family's health and my understanding from working with natural wellness providers for more than a decade. In this third episode, we're going to talk about something that will affect most people to a greater or lesser extent at some point in their life for a period of time. And today what we're going to look at is pulled muscles. So there are many different classifications of pulled muscles, bodily injuries, that kind of thing, right from straightforward muscle pulls right through to strains and tears, and there are different sort of grades of those. I'm sure a physiotherapist might add in a lot more information on other occurrences and different grades of injuries, but I'm going to keep this really simple and within my understanding, because I suspect that most people know what a pulled muscle or strain is, but may not know all of the different classifications of it. Having played a lot of sport when I was at school and also into my 20s, and then through exercise in my 30s, I've suffered a number of injuries of different kinds, and I've also sustained a few injuries just through living life. Let me share some of these with you, just so that you've got a bit of background knowledge on what I personally experienced, and then we'll build on that and look at how I've learned from that, so that I can share that knowledge with you, so that you can understand this as well. So when I was playing football, I suffered from some pulled muscles, usually thigh and kind of calf strains. Then when my son was born, when I was in my mid-20s, I bent down to put him on the floor to change his nappy. When I did that, I actually put my back out. I once also fell 14 feet head first, breaking 2 bones and suffering concussion, and that had quite an impact on me as well. And what I'll talk about is this injury in a little bit more detail in a minute. About the age of 26 as well, I was also dancing in a nightclub, and the club that night was absolutely packed. And I just remember seeing people sort of fall over like dominoes, and seeing like about 6 people were all piled up on top of my ankle and really damaged some ligaments that night. Couldn't walk for about 3 or 4 weeks, couldn't train for about 5 or 6 weeks. Then through weight training in my 40s, I continually pulled the same muscle just behind my right shoulder over and over again. Damage to the body through sport or life, whether it's tweaks, pulls, strains or tears, can be really painful, and it can affect us for weeks. And the injuries can often return, and that return of that injury sometimes can be within a couple of weeks, sometimes it can be within a month or so, sometimes it can actually come back years or several years later. With my ankle, when everyone sort of fell over on top of it, it was 20 years later, while I was out running, that I rolled slightly on the camber of the road and suddenly felt pain in the same place as I had all those years earlier. Now, I didn't connect the dots. I didn't connect that those two things were connected at all. I could still run on it, and I carried on running on it for weeks, but it was really uncomfortable. So then I went to see a sports massage therapist, and she started to sort of rub into the area in my ankle, and she said that this was scar tissue from a previous injury. Apparently what happens is that the nature of the body, when it repairs an injury, it kind of over repairs it, kind of overlays like more and more layers of repair tissue over the top of it. So it can actually, in time, it can start to restrict the movement. So after some treatment and a week or so of taking it a lot easier, the injury actually sort of went away. With the fall, when I fell 14 feet, I, of course, broke some bones. I broke 2 bones. I had concussion. And as that healed, what it left was kind of a percussion down through my spine. As the years went by, I suffered a number of times with my back. It would just sort of like lock up, and I was like literally paralyzed for a period of time. And whenever that happened, it would take sort of weeks to recover. I mean, I could get up off the floor that same day, you know, within about 10 or 15 minutes, and maybe crawl to a seat and maybe lay down or on a bed or something and lay down for a while. And then over the next few days, it would get better and I would be able to sort of move around again. Also, the impact of that fall, what it did was it actually shifted the shape of my skull. And I suppose that potentially could happen because of the distance that I fell and the fact that I came down more or less head first and landed onto metal and also concrete. I landed onto the edge of a ladder and then fell onto concrete as well. So years later, I was getting these like stabbing pains in my head, and the frequency of them was just increasing. And then a good friend of mine said to me, look, you shouldn't be living with these headaches. There's probably a cure for it. Why don't you go along and see a friend of mine who's an osteopath? Now, the osteopath asked me if I had ever had any injuries like accidents or falls. You know, I'd ever fallen off a horse, or I'd been involved in a car accident, and obviously I'd had this accident at work. And at that time, doctors were giving me painkillers and they were telling me to go and rest. And they told me it was just wear and tear, and I could expect it to just get worse as I aged. And you know what? That was like having a spell cast on me. And I just couldn't see any way forward until my friend said, go and see this osteopath. So in just 5 weeks, so literally 5 hours over 5 weeks, this osteopath cleared the back problem, and it's not returned in 12 years, and the headaches have gone. Okay, so the point of me telling you about the injuries isn't to be self-indulgent. What I want to highlight through these stories is that often what seems like an isolated muscle pull or a strain or headaches or, you know, problems with your back, often it isn't maybe what it seems. Also, when a doctor tells you that you're suffering from wear and tear, maybe consider that you've got a choice. You can either accept it, or you can explore what other alternatives could potentially be available to you. So until the osteopath, until he asked me about previous accidents like falls and impacts, I'd never considered that an accident years earlier would potentially have this kind of impact, as I say, all of these years later. And the doctors certainly weren't asking me any questions about that or taking that into account at all. They were predicting it would get worse, you know, without really looking any further. And I was imagining I'd be in a wheelchair potentially by the age of 50, or best case scenario, maybe with a walking stick. But the osteopath just took 5 hours to cure the problem, like the sports therapist took an hour on my ankle. And I could have been sort of hobbling around and just accepting it. With the recurring back injury in my shoulder, the one I was talking about happened in my 40s from weight training, I realised one day that I actually always pulled this muscle on a Tuesday, right? Never any other day in the week. It was always a Tuesday. And then I thought back and I noticed what was happening, because the thing is, I was doing this weight training every day, not every day, so 2 or 3 times a week, and so it was never happening. I was never pulling this muscle, say, on a Thursday or a Saturday. It was always on a Tuesday, which was really odd. And then I started to think back. So, well, if it's not the exercise, then it must be something else. So as I thought back, what I actually noticed was it always happened after a weekend where I visited my parents, and I sat on their sofa at a slightly twisted angle for a few hours. Maybe watching some sport with my dad, and then eating dinner with mum and dad, and and sitting on their sofa, while we were eating and talking and watching things. So that pain was actually caused in that part of my back from that. So often muscles and muscle pulls and injuries, they're no more than something that's maybe been caused by something that you did before. So it could be where you've damaged something and it hasn't healed properly, or it's overhealed. It could also potentially be that it's been caused by the way that you sit, walk, or stand. So let's think about you. What about you? Are you suffering from an injury or a recurring injury that maybe seems isolated, but now you think about it, you could relate it maybe to an old injury or accident or a strain that happened many years ago? So if you're suffering from something that seems like a fresh injury, maybe just consider if you've been sitting or standing in one place or in one way for just a bit too long. So more recently, I was weight training, and over a few months, I felt the movement in my left shoulder just becoming a bit more restricted. So a couple of weeks ago, I went for a massage, and as they were massaging me, I could feel this like clunking as she was rubbing over something in my shoulder. So this was just the ligaments that had got a little bit tight from the way that I sit at work, because sitting in front of my computer, I often lean on my left elbow, putting strain all at this side of my back. So now I know I can do something about that. I can sit in a different way. I can correct it when I notice it. I could also get a little massage there from time to time, and that will help to relieve that pain. So these days, the thing is, we're all spending more hours at computers, or we're looking at our mobile devices, and this puts more strain on our neck and our shoulders. But you don't have to live in pain. There are plenty of natural wellness professionals available to you. There are massage therapists, there are sports therapists, there are physiotherapists, there are osteopaths, there are chiropractors, there are massage rollers that you can use. You can use those at home. They're very, very cost-effective way of being able to relieve a bit of tension in your body, in your legs, or in your back. If you're doing a lot of exercise, or you're sitting in a certain place for a while, there are online courses you can take as well. Each week, my wife and I, we just take about 20 minutes each week, where we can just give each other a little back rub. And admittedly, it's not as deep as maybe a trained therapist might go, but it's really nice to do that kind of thing for each other. Because what it will do is it will remove or stop just those niggling aches and pains that may build up over time. So you can look up different types of therapists, and you can look up different types of programs. The massage program that Joe and I did was one called Massage for Couples. And you can find all of these resources on Total Wellness Club. You could put into a search for Total Wellness Club. You could go and you could put in there that you're looking for a massage therapist in your town or city, and you'll find resources that will come up. You'll find people that can come and help you. If it's sports injury or that kind of thing you want, a sports therapist, and again, put in your town and city, that will come up for you. Now, my business, Total Wellness Club, is all about helping you solve the problem of preventable ill health. We've developed a platform called Questly, which is free for you to join, and it's all about helping you think about your health at a deeper level. Good health starts with developing your awareness. What we've been talking about today is all about developing awareness and understanding of what actually is going on within the body. When it's in pain, what is it telling you? So this really helps you, the quests within Questly help you to get clear on what you know and also what you don't know. In fact, there's a whole quest in there on aches and pains that will help you to understand more about your aches and pains, and it will help you to resolve those as well. So Questly is about having a vision of how your future health looks, and then taking consistent habit-based action to get you there. It's also free. It will help you to identify 10 areas of your health that you could focus on, and it then works with you on a quest to improve that area of your health. So you can register for this by going to questly.life, so that's estly.life. It's actually right behind me, questly.life. So actually what I could do is, as I'm just at my computer right now, I could share with you my screen, and you can take a look at what it looks like inside Questly. So I'll do this with you, because what it does at the beginning of each month, on the first of each month, this area refreshes and clears. So you can take this again every month, and then what it does is it tracks your score over time so that you can see how well you're doing. So if you hover over the outside edge here, what comes up is a question. So I've thought about my nutrition and I eat a healthy diet. So I score this based on what I've done over the last 30 days. So my food and nutrition has been really good over the last month. So I'm going to give that a 10. I know what allergies or intolerances affect my body, and I've taken appropriate action. Been a bit of a difficult month for me this month because I've done quite a bit of traveling. I've been away from home 5 or 6 days and staying in hotels and eating out a few places. My allergies have come out. What that means for me is that there has been some dairy that's in some food that I wasn't expecting to be there. So I'm going to give that about a 7 or an 8 this month. Vitamins and minerals, I know the supplements to take for my body that my body needs, and I take them regularly. I've been doing that very diligently all month. Fitness, I have an exercise program I follow. I do, and I've been doing very well on that at the moment. Aches and pains, typically I live my life without any aches and pains. I'm going to give myself a 9 on that because of what's been happening on my shoulder. We've just been trying to correct. Progress tracking, I track my progress. Actually, I'll be honest, I've been really rubbish at that this month. So I'm going to give myself a 6 on that one. Environment, I've created an environment that supports and energizes me. Yep, done very well on that this month. Things around me have been really good. I sleep really well. I've been sleeping absolutely amazing. I don't know if it's because the clocks have changed recently. I do sleep heavier at this time of year, I've noticed. I know who I am and where I'm going in my life. Yep, I'm on track, I would say. I know where I'm going, not always doing the exact things that I want to be doing right now. So there's a few things that I would like to change and improve. And life balance. My life is in perfect balance, and I exercise with and I experience very little stress. I'm going to give that a 10 this month. So my overall score is 91%. You can see it all looks nice and colourful down the side here. And you can see my score is probably about where it was last month, but maybe it's dipped slightly. So you can see how your scores are going over time there. So you can do that in Questly, and then what you can do is you can pick a quest, and what we will then do is we'll work on that quest with you. We can go like really deep. So for me, probably what I would do if I was bringing my awareness into this month, I would go and do the progress tracking quest. Or I would probably go and do the allergies and intolerance one again to deepen my awareness and help me to think a little bit more about this a little bit more carefully, and maybe think about what I could do better when I'm traveling. If you have a particular health issue that you want help with, you can always let us know, and we will point you in the right direction. We'll point you in the direction of a resource or a professional that's received rave reviews on the Total Wellness Club platform from their clients. Just really leads me to say, last week we spoke about skin conditions like acne and psoriasis and eczema, and the week before we spoke about the common cold and how to avoid that. It's a great time of year to be looking at that right now. And we've shared our ideas. Other people have come in that shared their ideas on those topics based on their experiences. So if you want to avoid colds, or you have got a skin condition, or you know someone who suffers from those conditions, please feel free to share the resources on this page. Just scroll down and find those previous videos that we've put there, and use them and share them with your friends. Next week we're going to look at arthritis and what you can do about that as well. Again, I'm going to be sharing my knowledge and experience on that from working in the industry, and also friends and family who have suffered from arthritis and what they've done to improve their condition. So have a great end to your week, have a great weekend, and I will see you next time. Take care now.